Well, how y'all doing? Making some progress with this thing. Got started on the body mounts, figured I'd put some bigger tires on it so it's easier to get underneath it. And I actually got an 8-inch lift kit for it, and after kind of looking at it, none of this is going to touch anything because, body lift and the hump in the frame is getting kind of close in places. So I couldn't go down really too much more, about 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches, not quite. But like I said, got some temporary stuff going on just to kind of get it squared up and get it in place and see what it's going to look like. Started on some posts there, but there's obviously going to be a bushing above that and it's going to bolt into the floor. But I wanted it tied into the frame as well because eventually, I'll show you when I get to the other side. What I planned on doing is having a bushing here for a body mount, having it mounted to the floor, and I'm tying it into the frame. Well, the frame, it's a unibody, tying it in right here to some thicker stuff, and I'm just going to triangulate it from here to here, and then maybe something to the frame or gusset this up somehow so it's not just putting all the weight on this perch. I am going to make another set of posts to go up there. That bar was already there for the rear suspension that used to be on this thing, so I kind of just utilized that to mount it to temporarily. Don't look at it too hard, your brain will start catching on fire. Still got to take the rear bumper off. Still got to finish mounting it to the actual frame, and I'm going to run some reinforcements on the frame to stiffen it up a little bit. There's a lot of stuff I still need to do to it, but for right now I just wanted to put the big tires on it and kind of step back and just stare at it. Well, like I said, I had a 8-inch suspension lift to go on this thing, but just by looking at it, I think maybe if I put like 2-inch lift blocks in the back, it'll be a little more level and I wouldn't have to do any kind of suspension lift. Actually, once the radiator and the battery and the oil cooler and all that stuff's up front, it might drop just a tad bit. And the hood, that hood's pretty heavy. It might level itself out. It does have 2 full tanks of fuel in the back. But I don't know, it's not that unlevel. It's like a little bit. My other car sits, sits pointed nose down. This one sits with the ass end dragging a little bit. I mean, it's not actually, I don't know, it's not horrible. It's just enough to where I'm noticing though. But like I said, I'm not going to do anything about that because that's real easy. All I got to do is cut the mounts and then put a spacer in between it and then weld it back. That's super easy to do that once it's on this lift, which I had on these posts. So I need to unlift the lift, get the car out of here, take the lift back down, put it on the ground, and get it out from underneath all that crap or on top of all that crap, and make it more stable. Get this thing back on the lift, that way I can actually put it in the air and work underneath it. But I don't know, putting a body lift or putting a suspension lift on it just seems like it would look funny because I already got quite a bit of space. I got plenty of space. Nothing's going to hit anything, so there's no reason for it. But if all the hood and the battery and radiator and the oil cooler and everything else up front doesn't kind of level it out, I might lift it in the back with a set of lift blocks or just lift the body mounts 2 inches or something. Like I said, I only got a couple tabs holding it, so it's real easy to cut off and redo because I didn't want it permanent because I don't know how straight it is because the frame I started with isn't exactly perfect. And I didn't unbolt anything from the frame. I ripped it all off with my pickup truck and the log chain. So the frame isn't, bad. It's just, a lot of rust, and the rear bumper is going to fall off anyway. I'm debating on how to cut that off because part of this holds the fuel tank and I'd like to keep that fuel tank. So if I cut it off at the rust spot, nothing's going to hold the fuel tank. So I want to find a way to cut it off behind that, get rid of all this, the rest of the Blazer body, that 2 body mounts and a piece of crap there, and then just put a piece of angle iron over that, to reinforce that back to hold my fuel tank, and then build a bumper off of that or something. And I am going to just connect these shocks to something just because they're there and I don't want to take them off and it would look cool. Probably not. I'm probably gonna just put some with that coroplast or a piece of sheet metal or something to block that off to where you don't see under it so much. Same with up here. Try to maybe seal that off a little bit to where my engine doesn't get soaked if I do decide to take it through the mud, which, you know me, I might not, but I probably will. But yeah, this would have been easier to do with the small block Chevy, but I have a diesel, so things didn't fit so well. I had to put a couple inches more body lift on it than I wanted to. So see you on the next one. I'll try to keep you guys updated. Take her easy.